Happy Hump Day. Good Wednesday to you, family and friends. I am Tyler Fulghum in Vegas. That is Anita Marks on the East Coast. And we got 30 minutes of bet coming up for you. A jam-packed show, The Good Word. Our buddy Jeff Passan going to join us live. I don't know if you heard, Anita and I like to dabble in golf wagering. And there's a pretty significant tournament taking place this weekend that we can discuss. We'll dive into the association as well. Going to have a lot of fun here. Anita, are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's go, baby. Tee it up, baby. Tee it up, Ty.
I like that. We got we got the Masters. We got opening day of the MLB season. But we start with the good word. You know the drill here, Anita. I say a statement. You use that big, beautiful brain of yours, and you tell me the first word that pops into your head. I'll write it down, and we'll share it with the people. Starting down at Augusta, Georgia, Tiger Woods returning to action for the first time since that near-fatal car accident 17 months ago is minus 150 to miss the cut at the Masters. Anita, what's your good word?
Likely. And hear me out. I hate to be the negative Nelly. But there's just too many factors that are going against him. Number one, he hasn't played competitive golf in 17 months. There wasn't even like a warm-up tournament for him in regard to playing competitive golf. On top of that, pay attention to the weather conditions. It's been raining there all week long. It's going to be rainy, wet, soggy. The conditions are going to be soft, which means that he's not going to get a lot of, not just him, but a lot of these guys, they're not going to get a lot of action off their drives. So approach shots are going to be anywhere between 175 to 200. On top of that, it's going to be windy on Friday afternoon. He tees off Thursday morning, which means he's going to tee off Friday afternoon. Weather conditions are not going to cooperate. And here's the big one, Tyler, and that is coming off of this injury, this is one of the hilliest golf courses on tour. How is his body going to react on Friday morning after walking the course and playing competitive golf? So I just think that unfortunately, stars do not align properly for him. So I do not believe that Tiger Woods is going to make the cut. I just don't. And again, I hate saying that because I feel like a negative Nelly. I have to be true and honest with what I see and what I hear.
Understood. I, too, have to be true and honest with what I see with Tiger Woods. And I have 20-plus years of watching Tiger Woods defy logic. So betting him to miss the cut to me would be quite foolish, Anita. This is a guy who has made every single cut at the Masters as a tour professional. He's had times where he's missed the Masters because of back injury, spinal fusion, and the very next time he played it, what did he do? He made the cut. And I know that it's hilly. I know he's going to be hurting. But, Anita, we've seen this guy win a U.S. Open walking 18 at Pebble Beach with 2 stress fractures and a torn ACL. His pain tolerance is greater than any golfer we know. He used to train with the Navy SEALs. It is not going to bother him walking Augusta on a rebuilt leg. What would bother him is if his game wasn't in shape. And by all accounts, everything that we're hearing and seeing from Tiger is that his game looks extra crisp. So I trust him at a place where he's won 5 times to at least make it to the weekend. And the fact that he's early Thursday, late Friday, means he has as much time as possible to do whatever he needs to physically to make sure his ability to walk on Friday is as capable as possible. So we're on opposite sides of that. It is noted, but I call it foolish. You call it likely. Let's move on to the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now the betting favorite to win the Eastern Conference. For so long it had been the Brooklyn Nets, but the Bucks at plus 260 to win the East for a second straight year. Anita, what's your good word?
Possibly. Giannis, right? Trying to compete to win that 3rd MVP, arguably the best player in the NBA heading into the postseason. The big 3 are ready. Holiday and Middleton healthy. And I buried the lead here. Brook Lopez is back. And as great as all the other components are on this team, Brook Lopez is the elixir that really dictates how this team operates in their success, on top of the fact that, again, the entire team is healthy. I do like the Bucks coming in, so possibly, Tyler, they win.
Okay, we are now back in sync here because I think it is quite smart to bet them to win the Eastern Conference. Unlike betting against Tiger, I think it's a wonderful bet, even as the favorite with the, less amount of value or least value, so to speak, on the board of all those teams. They have the best player in the universe. Maybe not the MVP, but the best player in the universe is Giannis. They have Brook Lopez back. They have the experience from a season ago. I think you're seeing them start to ramp it up. And some of their competition, like Boston losing Robert Williams, has gotten a little bit worse. Miami kind of faltering a little down the stretch. Philadelphia, can we trust James Harden? And then there is the Brooklyn Nets, who, of course, I don't think can do anything without Ben Simmons, and it doesn't look like he's going to play. So smart is my word for this team to win the East for a second straight year. Finally, let's get to Major League Baseball, which first pitch tomorrow all day long. Going to be wonderful to see. We know Shohei Ohtani won the MVP last year. And if you check the preseason odds board, he was 50-1 entering last season. Similarly this year, George Springer leading off for the Toronto Blue Jays is 50-1 to win the AL MVP. Anita, what's your good word?
Elsewhere, because that's where I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking elsewhere, like Vlad Guerrero, for example, right? Like third in batting average, first in home runs last year, put up 58, first in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, all the numbers we know. I also have a long shot here, and that's, you said that tomorrow's going to be wonderful. How about Wonderful Franco as a long shot? Okay, 18-1, maybe you're like, Anita, is that really a long shot? Well, it's better than Vlad, that's for sure. Dude's making, listen, for a team that came to the table and said, we're going to sign you an 11-year, $220 million contract, he never strikes out. His strikeout percentage is 12%. Nothing phases him. So elsewhere.
Yeah, I understand it. I think mine's kind of similar, maybe a little bit more optimistic. I say it's possible. Not that he's my favorite bet, but at 50-1, I'm willing to take a shot because I do think he can put up the numbers in a Toronto offense that should absolutely smash each and every night out. He'll be leading off. We know he's got the power, and if he does get on base, add the home runs, maybe steal a few bags, he could end up with 125 runs, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, maybe a few steals. That could be MVP quality, and at 50-1, I think it's possible for me to go there. But as you alluded to, I think there is likely some better bets out there. Certainly not my favorite, but definitely possible for George Springer because that offense is going to score a lot of runs this season. All right, Anita, while we're talking big league baseball, I think it's about gosh darn time we welcome in our good friend, the Czar of Baseball here at ESPN, Jeff Passan, MLB Insider, as we get ready for the opening day of the big league season coming up tomorrow. Now, Jeff, you're pretty good at this wagering thing, this handicapping thing. Last year prior to the season, you nailed a couple of long shots that were 50-1 or longer shots. Walk us through those two picks from last year, your thought process, and then give us two more winners that are long shots for this year. No pressure, buddy.
Shohei Ohtani, 50-1 AL MVP. Listen, if he stayed healthy all year, it's the same thing this year. If he stays healthy, you have to give him the MVP award because he is two players in one, and two really good players in one. Corbin Burns, his stuff last year for the Brewers during spring training was just wild. I mean, he was throwing strikes, and his cutter was moving at 98. Like, he was awesome. I'm going to give you one absolute lead pipe lock right now. There will be no worse pun uttered today on the ESPN campus or otherwise than Anita talking about Wonderful Franco. Shame on you, Anita Marks, for that. However, Rafael Devers at 25-1. I know it's not 50-1. Rafael Devers looks absolutely locked in right now, hitting his prime. He's healthy this year. We saw, even in the playoffs last year, when he had a bum wrist, was hitting the ball hard, hitting home runs. I think he is going to have a massive year for the Red Sox. And this is a little bit of a longer shot. 40-1, Mackenzie Gore, the left-handed pitcher for the San Diego Padres. Now, the problem is the Padres have like 11 starting pitchers already, so it's going to take some injuries and going to take some performance from Gore to get into the rotation, to get the innings to go out and win that award. But at 40-1, odds are awfully good.
All right, Jeff. So last year we saw the San Francisco Giants stun the baseball world, winning 107 games, leapfrogging over the Dodgers. Is there a team out there heading to this season that you think is going to take baseball fans by storm and win unexpectedly by 10 games?
I went through all of the teams and all of the win totals, and none stood out. But if there's one that seemed really low to me, it's the Detroit Tigers. And I understand picking that team, Anita, that's going to transition from rebuilding to built is a difficult thing to do. But they've got a couple of advantageous things going on right now. I think their rotation is going to be a lot better than people realize. Tariq Skubal ready to take a step forward. Matt Manning, Casey Mize as well, signing Eduardo Rodriguez this offseason. And then the fact that they just want to go out and win, right? It's not just getting Javier Baez or trading for Austin Meadows. It's putting Spencer Torkelson, top prospect, on the opening day roster, and Riley Green, when he gets back from a broken foot, is going to be there too. And AJ Hinch is one of the best managers in baseball. So I think 77.5 is low on Detroit, especially in a division that frankly has one team that you look at right now and says that's going to be a good team in the Chicago White Sox. The others are sort of question marks at this point.
Yeah, Jeff, surprise, surprise. The LA Dodgers are expected to be good this year. Go figure. They're your World Series favorite at plus 475, but that's no fun. We like, again, as bettors, to find better value on the board. So if we took away the Dodgers and the 4 other teams with the shortest odds to win the World Series, those 5 teams you cannot mention, is there anyone outside of that group that you think provides decent value and return on investment to lift that piece of metal, as Rob Manfred so eloquently calls it?
Okay, so we're going to go down the list quite a bit. You can take the first 5 teams away. You can take the first 10 teams away. I think you might even be able to take the first 15 teams away. The Seattle Mariners at 35-1 feel like really good value to me. And I'm not sitting here, listen, Mina Kimes is hearing this right now and saying, Jeff Passan, you wash your mouth out with soap. You horrible man, do not curse my Mariners, as they try and turn from this perpetual joke into a team that actually has a chance to win the World Series. But they're talented, and their young players are getting better. Julio Rodriguez is going to start this season with the team. Logan Gilbert has added a slider that's going to make him, I think, a top-of-the-rotation type pitcher. I understand the Mariners overachieved last year. They're bringing back a lot, though, and going out this offseason, bringing in Robbie Ray, I mean, they are a better team, and at 35-1, I think they're a really good opportunity if you want to throw a couple bucks down for a long shot. And what, remember, is an expanded postseason and going to be even more of a crapshoot than it's been in the past.
All right, Jeff. So as we know, chicks love the long ball. So let's take a look at some of the odds for the home run leader and see what you think. One in particular, as I mentioned him before, I like Vlad Guerrero. But nonetheless, you've got Pete Alonso here in New York, Aaron Judge. In looking at this list, is there one that sticks out to you that you think will be the home run leader?
Okay, so all of them can win this. I had a friend reach out to me a couple days ago and said, I need the top 10 home run hitters this year for a pool that I'm in. And I sent him 10 names, and afterward was like, oh God, I didn't even include Mike Trout on there. So a lot of guys can hit home runs these days, but the one with the combination of power, age, and park who really appeals to me there is Yordan Alvarez from the Houston Astros. Ever since he got to the big leagues, he has been an incredible hitter. We saw it in the postseason last year. Didn't show up in the World Series, but that ALCS was incredible. And look, playing in Minute Maid Park with that short porch in left field, with fences in and right field, I think that Yordan Alvarez is the best pick of a group of many, many talented and good home run hitters.
Jeff Passan with us here on Bet today. Opening day in Big League Baseball tomorrow. Can't wait. Jeff, thank you for your time. We look forward to chatting with you all season long here on Bet.
Thank you, Anita, for giving me a great and enjoyable moment, and it was not wonderful. I'm sorry.
You
Jeff
know you're
is
going to
the
use
best.
that name. You know you're going to use it.
We will see, Anita, if Jeff Passan utters the name wonderful on any ESPN platform. All right, let's move away from the diamond and get to, there was a little hint about Jeff's intent. Let's get to golf because, you know, Anita, we love when we can hop on the tee box, hop on the greens, and there is no tournament in the game that has as much history as the Masters. Tiger Woods, we know, will be in the field. 40-1 is his long shot. Let's go par 3. We each get 3 wagers, 3 bets we'd like to make for this specific tournament. Anita, I will let you start here. You're on the tee box. Your par 3 picks for the Masters are?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go with the winner. It's hard because, you know, you've got the best in the field competing, but I do like Cam Smith at 18-1. You know, you need experience on this track in order to win, and he has it. He's got some top 10s. He's finished in his last 3 starts here at Augusta. He's won twice already this season on tour. He skipped the Dell match play in order to get ready for the Masters. And when you look at the metrics that are most important coming into this tournament, he ranks in the top 7 in all 3, and that's greens in regulation, par 5 performance, and putting average. So for me, Cam Smith for the win. Also give me Justin Thomas, JT to finish in the top 10. Listen, every tournament he has played in leading up to the Masters, he's gaining strokes on approach, and that's going to be really key. Again, he knows this track. His game suits this course, so he's ready to win. But to get plus money for him to finish in the top 10, I think is some good value there. And last but not least, I'm going to go with the Canadian, Corey Connors, finish in the top 20 at plus money as well. One of the most consistent golfers on tour this season. Finished 3rd at the Dell match play, which was really impressive. Top 15 in greens and regulation and top 12 in par 5 performance. And he's a very good putter. So I think Connors makes some noise here this week.
Okay, we may disagree about Tiger, but I love your par 3 betting card there. So much so that I'm stealing Cam Smith as my winner. That is my pick to win this event, and you laid it out perfectly. Cam Smith is a stud. This dude is a top-notch talent in the game. He has all of those things, the putting, the iron play on approach. He dominates par 5s. He averages more birdies per round than anyone in the world this year. He is a guy who I think can break through and get that win. We see eye to eye perfectly on that. I don't have JT and Corey Connors on my card, but I absolutely would make those bets. Here are 2 others. I reluctantly have to admit I kind of like Brooks Koepka because he's finally healthy again, and we know Brooks goes big game hunting when the majors roll around, and while he has not won a green jacket, Brooks has had a lot of successful finishes here, and that price at plus 165 to get inside the top 10 along with someone like JT, I think is just too good to pass up for me. And then finally, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one, Anita. How about Bryson DeChambeau to miss the cut here at Augusta? That is plus 140. Let's start with the form for Bryson. He's not in really good form right now. We haven't seen him show well in tournaments for much of this rollover season. We know what Bryson is now. He's a man who wants to overpower the golf course. And while distance does matter at Augusta, it was oh so famous what Bryson did a year or 2 ago when he called it a par 67 and then absolutely flamed out. With these weather conditions, with the changes on 11 and 15 specifically, with the way you need to shape shots and not right to left, but left to right mostly. You need to be able to cut the ball if you're a right-handed golfer, and that is just not something DeChambeau does as he tries to overpower every course. I love him to miss the cut at plus 140. Do you like that one there, Anita, or do you think Bryson can have a good weekend?
No, I think you're spot on. I've already laid it. He's got a torn labrum in his hip. He's got a broken bone in his wrist. And all the reasons you just said, they reshaped a number of the holes heading into this tournament. And you need to make sure more times than not, your drive lands up on the right side of the fairway, which he's going to struggle with. So I'm with you there. There's one more play that I do like, and that is Brian Harman. This is a guy I'm going to be using a lot in DFS. It's good value. Also, I think he's going to finish in the top 30, and I love his match play over Westwood that you can get at minus 140. He is a lefty. We're talking about how you want to make sure that your drives end up on the right side of the fairway. Well, it's going to be easier for him because of his draw. Finished at top 12 here last year. His short game is on point. I think Brian Harman's going to make some noise, Tyler.
Yeah, we're calling this our 19th hole bet, a bonus bet for those who just need a little more action on their card. And yet again, we are in sync on this one. I love Brian Harman. I gave my DraftKings daily fantasy lineup a couple days ago on Daily Wager, and Brian Harman was my last piece, sub 7,000. But I know we don't agree here on my bonus bet because we talked about this earlier. I will reiterate it once again. Bet Tiger Woods at even money to make the cut. You see there on the screen, he's made 22 of 23 cuts at the Masters. The one time he did it was in 1996 before he turned pro. He did turn pro for the 1997 Masters, and he won in historic fashion. He's won it 5 times. He's been inside the top 10 14 out of the 22 times that he's finished it, well above 60%. I talked about his pain tolerance. Every single rep that he has taken over the last 4 or 5 months that he's been able to swing a club has been made with the Masters in mind. And he owns this course unlike anyone else that's in this field. So we were going great there. I love 90% of your card, but here's the one disagreement we have. I like Tiger to make the cut. We know how you feel, Anita. A little wine bet. We'll have a little wine bet, okay? No, and a friendly wine wager here when it comes to LT Gray. I know everyone's pulling for him, no matter whether they're betting against him or betting on him. All right, that'll do it for our Masters coverage. Let's end the show on the hardwood. The NBA season continues. Well, the regular season continues, but it's only got a few games left for most teams. So taking a look at a rather light slate for Wednesday night. Let's start with this ESPN tilt between crosstown rivals, the Brooklyn Nets in Madison Square Garden to take on the Knicks. The Nets are a road favorite of 5 points, total of 230. You see the Nets, they have struggled. ATS failed to cover 5 straight, although they have won 2 of those 5 games. Anita, how are you approaching this one?
Well, I'm wearing my KD shirt tonight, so Avi, I'm on the Nets. I'll lay the points here. Listen, they're looking for the season sweep against the Knicks. You know, these 2 ball clubs, again, arenas, a driver for you, probably 2 drivers for me away from one another. Here's a little nugget that I came across. This will be the first time that both Katie and Kyrie will be playing on the court against the Knicks this season. And when they're together, they're averaging 124 points a game. No Julius Randle. So I'll lay the points with the Nets. Also, motivation here in regard to that play-in spot. They want to make sure that they're only going to play 1 game, and they'd like to get the home court advantage in that play-in spot. So motivation here for the Nets.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from side and total and attack that player prop market. And you mentioned something that's going to lead into my wager. Julius Randle is out, and it appears he's not going to play again the rest of this season. So the youngster Obi Toppin is a guy who I think is going to be responsible alongside RJ Barrett for picking up a lot of that slack. So I like Obi Toppin over 17.5 points. You take a look at his game log. The last 2 games Obi has played 20 points in each game. He's averaged 33 minutes in those games. We know Tom Thibodeau likes to keep guys out there. And this is a pretty decent total, a total of 230. And with Randle off the court, we know RJ Barrett's going to be the primary scorer. I think Toppin can be the secondary scorer and have a 3rd straight game with 20-plus points. A 230 total means they're expecting some offense. We know the Nets don't play any gosh darn defense. And Toppin's a guy who has that athleticism and size in the front court to take advantage of the significant defensive weakness with Brooklyn, which is defense in the paint and in the front court. So I like Obi Toppin, the youngster, to have a big day in the scoring column, regardless of who wins the matchup. Now, the Celtics and the Bulls are going at it tonight. This one will take place at the United Center in Chicago. The Celtics, a 7-point road favorite. We know how good they've been, even missing Robert Williams. They're the current 2 seed in the East. Zach LaVine did not play last night for the Bulls. He is listed as probable tonight. So tell me how you're handicapping this one.
Yeah, listen, I like the Celtics here. I'll lay the 7. There's a 3-way tie for that number 2 seed in the East, and they're competing with the 76ers and the Bucks, so a lot of motivation here. They're the best team in the East, in my opinion, since the All-Star break. They're 8-2 their last 10 games. They're 13-2 on the road, and they're 12 and they're 13-5. Against the Bulls this season. Meanwhile, the Bulls, they've lost 2 straight. They've only been shooting less than 45% in those 2 games. Their defense ranks 23rd. in the NBA. And also, prop bet I like here is Horford. Horford over par at 22.5. Since Robert Williams is out, he's getting a plethora of minutes, and he's averaging 25 par a game. And with the Bulls, with their defense ranked 23rd and not a lot of height in the paint, I think Horford has a big night tonight.
Yeah, I lean the Celtics side like you, but I want to isolate the Celtics offense, which has been absolutely bonkers the last 10 games. So this will help in you covering the spread, but I'm going to play their team total over 115.5. You mentioned the matchup is not an imposing one. The Bulls defense has been slipping, as the season progresses. And even though they don't have Robert Williams anymore, the offense has been dynamic. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, these guys have been absolutely balling. You look at the offensive rating, Anita, for the Boston Celtics over the last 10 games, it's a 126.3. That means they're scoring 126 points per 100 possessions. I think they'll see at least about 100 possessions in this game with Chicago because of the pace they run at. And that's a big, nice delta or cushion between 126 and needing 116 to cover this bet. So I like that for a team that we've talked about their defense so much as to why they've been the best in the East over the second half of the season. Their offense has also been pretty gosh darn good. So I think they can continue that against a Bulls team on the second leg of a back-to-back. And if the Bulls offense is improved by LaVine being available, then the Celtics may need to keep the pedal to the metal offensively, so to speak, to win this game. So I like over 115.5 for a Boston offense that's been scorching hot over its last 10 games. Final one we look at here. This one requires some context. A Western Conference matchup on ESPN, 10 Eastern tip between the Clippers and the Suns. You see the spread and total on your screen there, but we have gotten word that Phoenix, with the West wrapped up, is going to be resting a lot of players. Anita, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Jay Crowder all ruled out with really nothing for Phoenix to play for tonight. So tell us how you're approaching this game with that news that we just learned of recently.
Yeah, I like the Clippers on the money line, and you can get that at minus 135. I also like the under here at 226.5. And I do like a prop bet of Paul George over 2.5 three-pointers. As you said, the Suns, they've locked up the West. Last night with their win against the Lakers, they surpassed the franchise record of most wins in a single season. Meanwhile, the Clippers, they've been doing great since Paul George has returned, right? They've won 3 of 4. They want to come into the postseason with some momentum. And they've got a top 10 defense, a big reason why I like the under. And Paul George is averaging 4 three-pointers a game since he's returned. So that 2.5, I'll take that as well.
Yeah, so this line has moved in real time for us here with the news that the Suns are sitting basically their entire starting unit, especially their best players. The Clippers are now a 6-point favorite, and the total is 223. If you can find 2.5 in that money line that Anita was talking about, as she would say, run, don't walk, and lock it in. If you can find a book or bookie that has 2.5 for the Clippers. But we're seeing it change in real time with that news. I still think 6 is comfortable enough for me to lay it with the Clippers. Obviously, if you can find anything less than that, run, don't walk. The totals come down a little bit, but this Clippers team, especially with Paul George back, has been really good. I like the prop you're throwing out there with PG-13 because he hasn't missed a beat since coming back, and it should be easier to score against this Phoenix Suns team without Jay Crowder, who would probably guard him on the perimeter, without DeAndre Ayton, who would guard the rim and the paint, without CP3 and Devin Booker and what they do for that team defense. So things changing with Clippers and Suns. You see the new total, the new line right there on your screen. I would still lay the 6 with the Clippers, but obviously if you can find anything less than that, that is going to be much more advantageous. So those are the 3 games that we're looking at in the association here, Anita. And what a weekend we have forthcoming. The Masters tees off tomorrow. Tiger will be in tow. Hideki looking to defend his green jacket. MLB opening day Thursday, and the season continues all the way through October. NBA and NHL postseason races. Anita, does it get any better than right now on the sports calendar?
It does not, and I'll make you a great wager. It's not one bottle of wine, it's a case of wine if Tiger, Decky, and Bryson DeChambeau, all 3 of them, do not make the cut. Are we on?
Well, I want Tiger to make the cut. So, I mean, I'll take DeChambeau. Who was the third you said beside him and Tiger?
Decky and Bryson DeChambeau. Let's go, baby.
All right, I'm not gonna take it because I have Tiger making it. I love you, Anita. We'll see what happens with the big cat. What a time in the sports world, baby.